Okay, I believe that's on there.
I don't know if this is on.
Is it already on the screen?
Hit the red button. I don't see anything. Laura, how do I know that the recorder's on?
Yeah, recording.
Oh, we're good, thanks. So I'd like to call this meeting of council to order. I want to note that in the council chambers, in addition to myself, I have Councillor Robinson with me. I have Councillor Burns, Councillor Buchwald, and Councillor Recchi Schoenfeld, and staff has joined us through the Zoom. So we will start our meeting with a moment of reflection, and I just want to add that we're going to extend our moment of silent reflection a little longer, just to recognize and honor those that were killed in that tragic shooting in Nova Scotia, where the number now stands at 23. So can we stand for that moment of reflection? Thank you. Thank you. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we will move on to the mayor's address. I want to start by thanking all our frontline workers in our ambulances, hospitals, long-term care homes, retirement homes, grocery stores, pharmacies, hardware stores, and food banks. It has been especially difficult and stressful for these individuals who we rely on for delivering healthcare and essential services. Every day they report to work, they are putting themselves and their families at greater risk of contracting the coronavirus. We are fortunate that in Renfrew County, the number of individuals who have tested positive for COVID-19 has remained steady at 14 for the past number of days. Our physical distancing, staying home and staying safe is paying dividends, and we must continue this practice. I also want to thank all our municipal office, staff, public works, firefighters, and waste management for their efforts in maintaining the day-to-day operations of our township. Some good news for our municipalities, the opening of a new food bank in Golden Lake. I did attend the food bank on Thursday, April 16th, 2020 to congratulate and thank Dale Benoit Zor and Hilda Tennisco on their persistence and determination in finding a suitable location and establishing this vital service in our municipality. This food bank is serving residents in our municipality as well as Pequot-Nagon. Ms. Benoit Zor informed me that approximately 73 residents have registered with the food bank. They are looking for volunteer members for their board, as well as volunteers who would be available to help organize donated items and pack orders. Ms. Benoit Zor can be contacted at 613-635-1904. That's everything for my mayor's address. So I have a resolution that council accepts the mayor's address as presented. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Buckwald, seconded by Councillor Robinson. And I will ask specifically each councillor if they agree or disagree. Councillor Buckwald?
For.
Councillor Burns?
Yes.
Councillor Ranky Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Councillor Robinson?
Yes.
And yes, for myself as well. That motion is carried. Thank you. So that brings us to the adoption of the minutes. It's come to my attention prior to the meeting that some members of the council did not receive the minutes with their agenda on Friday. Would council be willing to review the minutes now and approve?
Are we gonna look at them on?
Yeah, on the screen. Can we bring up the minutes, please, Andrew? Raise your hand if it's going too fast.
Do we vote on one at a time? Or-
Yes, we're going to do one at a time. Any questions, additions, or corrections on these minutes, or anything you want to take a closer look at? Seeing none, I have a resolution that council accepts the March 3rd, 2020 regular meeting minutes as presented. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Buckwald, seconded by Councillor Ranky Schoenfeld. Once again, Councillor Buckwald,
Yes.
Councillor Burns,
Yes.
Councillor Ranky Schoenfeld,
Yes.
Councillor Robinson,
Yes.
and myself, yes, as well. That is carried. Can we bring up the March 24th, 2020 special meeting minutes?
Are we running for that one? Or somebody has to know that one?
24th?
Yeah.
Yes, I was here because we had 3 members in chamber to make sure that
Oh,
we had
right,
quorum
okay.
to be able to pass it.
Slow down a bit, Andrew, please.
can't remember, was Matthew McLaren in attendance at the very beginning? Did it say that? At the very top? I can't remember.
Yes, it did.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? So I have a resolution that March 24th, 2020 special meeting minutes be accepted as presented. Any additions, corrections, or omissions? Councillor Robinson? Oh, okay. You were moving the motion? Moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Byrne. Councillor Buckwell?
Yes.
Councillor Byrne?
Yes.
Councillor Rankin-Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Councillor Robinson?
Yes.
Yes for me. That motion's carried.
Can you stop for a sec? Can you fix my name there? Schoenfel.
EFT?
Yeah. Just the end consonants. Is it spelled right? I can't really see it.
Yeah, I think it is.
Maybe it's just my angle. Sorry, over here, it looks like there's a F or something like that by the D.
There's an E missing from Reiki though.
Yeah,
That's,
stick the Reiki on. It's hard to see on an angle.
But it's in a few places that it's wrong.
Andrew, it needs an E on Reiki.
Throughout.
No, I've got the next ones, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like that everywhere. Isn't it the H after the E?
No,
H is the E?
F-E-L-D-T. No, that's okay. S-C-H-O-E-N-F-E-L-D.
No, the right key.
Oh, that's
The E is
right.
missing on all of them.
No, that one's got it.
You just put
No,
it
you
in.
fixed it.
That one.
It's just fixing them.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm looking at it on.
Oh, you're doing it that way. Okay.
Right can be a good word to take out of the spell check dictionary.
When you do a recorded vote like that, James, don't you vote on that?
Yeah, I see. I started to vote on them after the first
Oh, yeah, okay.
couple of resolutions.
It doesn't really matter because we all said yes, but.
Fix counts, yeah.
That's stuck on the E so that it didn't say anything else. I know. That's what I do.
Are there any other additions or corrections to the minutes? Councilor Schoenfeld?
I don't know, like, when I brought up the April 7th minutes on the township website, right? There was a problem, I think, maybe I'm reading it wrong. If we could go to the report that's extend the 2020 interim tax bill due date by a further 120 days. And if you go through the report, and then it gives us the bylaw 2030, and then it talks about bylaw 2020-42, and I get everything, and it talks about whereas bylaw 2030 was enacted, blah, 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 and whereas bylaw 2030 was established, the penalty, blah, 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 and it goes on. But then, when you get to the middle of that, it says, now therefore the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Algona WILberforce enacts the following, that section 4 of bylaw 2020 be deleted. Do you think that should say 2030? And not 2020, because we're not talking about 2020 at all. Does anybody see that? Did anybody bring up the April 7th? The actual minutes that were on the website? Yeah.
Minutes of the meeting or
Well,
material for the agenda,
It was the agenda, yeah, not the approval of the agenda, the actual,
the report.
the report, what we talked about and what we approved. So I mean, if we approve the minutes, therefore we're approving this, approving that, right? So I think we have a mistake we gotta fix before we approve the minutes. That's what I'm thinking.
And that was in the reports?
Yeah. Yeah, so if you go to that, it says, Mr. Mayor, this is extended. Bill?
This bylaw.
Yeah, so Maria, see.
So if we just take the 2020, 31, 34, 35, and 36 out and just leave it at bylaws, that would correct it?
I don't know. So this is our report, okay? So it's there, then you come here and it talks about 20, 30. And then when you go down here, it's 20, 42. But this right here talks about bylaw 2020 as opposed to 2030. So I'm wondering if it was a typo and it should have said 30 and not 20, because we never talked about 2020. Did you say things?
So
That was from, that was the March, no, that wasn't March 3rd, was it? That was.
Yeah, but then when we looked at the April 7th, we talked about amending 2020, 30 because we're extending the days. Therefore, we had another bylaw, 2020, 42. So we could extend it the other 120 days. But then it just says that section 4 of bylaw 2020 be deleted in its entirety and replaced by the following. That's what makes me think it. And then number 2 says all other sections of bylaw 2030 shall remain in effect. So I'm thinking number 1, that section.
30.
Right, not 20. Because it goes on to talk about 30.
Can we make that correction, Andrew, and then we would approve these minutes as amended, or do we want to write that amendment
I
down?
think we can make the correction. I think it's difficult to talk back and forth in the system we're in, but I think we understand what needs to be corrected and we can correct that and bring it back. Although you approve it, we'll just bring it back to show you that it's been corrected properly at the next meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
but we all kind of know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I can be confused anyway.
Is council okay with that? Yes. Okay, so I would need a mover and a seconder that the April 7th, 2020 electronic attendance regular meeting minutes be approved as amended. Moved by Councillor Byrne, seconded by Councillor Raggy-Schoenfeld. Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Byrne,
Yes.
Councillor Raggy-Schoenfeld,
Yes,
Councillor Robinson,
Yes.
and myself, yes. That's carried. Thank you for catching that.
That was on for April 7th.
Yes.
Yes. We have no delegation. So that brings us to reports. And our first report is 7.1, which is the large item day. Did you want to speak to that, Andrew, or do you want council to read the report first?
I can try. We'll see how this works for me to speak. Basically, the report's pretty simple. We normally have a large item day or a bulk day every spring and in the summer. But at this time, that's pretty hard to do based on the restrictions that are placed on us. So I've provided council with 4 options. One is cancel the event, which means you don't have a large item day at all. Number 2 would be delay until restrictions are lifted, which might be a good option for council. We don't know when they're going to be lifted. We know that there's going to be an announcement on May 12th. You could operate the event in a different manner, and what that would mean is you would have to put some controls in, and it'd be really labor intensive and somewhat frustrating for the residents trying to bring things in, because you'd really have to regulate how many people come in at a time, and that amount would be just one group at a time. So that's a very difficult thing. And the other component of doing it in a different manner is some residents, or especially seasonal residents, wouldn't be able to take advantage because they're not here. The other one is to hold the event completely at OVWRC. I don't think they prefer that. And again, if you have it now, some of the seasonal residents would miss out. So I'm leaving it up to council which way you'd like to go, but we should be doing advertising soon.
Councillor Wright-Duchamp.
Mr. Spratt, is the Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery, they're not having any big dump large item days with the other municipalities at all? So like, I know we booked 2 days in right there. So that would mean like none of us could take any of our stuff there, even though we were booked in to do it. Is that right? Like, it's kind of like all or nothing?
So the information that I have at this moment, I don't have any that other municipalities are going ahead with a large item day specifically. Bone Share Valley has allowed people to bring waste as normal, but there's nothing that I know of that other municipalities are working in cooperation with OPWRC to have a special event there.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Robinson and then Councillor Burton.
I think that it would be very confusing to try and change it at this point in time. I think that if we just delay it and advertising that it's being delayed until the restrictions are lifted, would probably be the simplest communication that we could put out there.
Councillor Burton.
I think I have to agree with the mayor. If we can delay this until it opens up, a lot of people stay for this day, and I'm afraid if we don't give them this day, we're going to find a lot of garbage in the ditches. And just to add to your, Janet, the other townships, they have a large pickup, but it's picked up at the residence road, like Rancho Valley, and in Pembroke and Petawawa, they pick the large items up in the township on the curb.
Yeah.
So we don't have anybody going to the waste site with that stuff. They do that, I think, twice a year for them townships.
They do.
Councillor Buckle.
I think from my perspective, I know the large item days are very well received by the ratepayers, and it is a very good service to provide. I don't think at this point we should be entertaining it while the various restrictions are in place. I could see us doing it later on once things open up, and then again, cottagers would be able to take advantage of it as well. So I think at this point we should probably hold off on the May event that we normally have and potentially move it back into the summer. Again, if possible, but let people know that it's not going to happen at the regular time, and we'll just keep them updated with a potential future date in the summer. Maybe combine the two instead of one at each end. Maybe you can have to do them all on one weekend in one location if it comes down to that. But I don't think we can safely do it at this point, even either for our staff nor for people loading up truckloads of stuff where, you know, each of you take one end of the dresser that you want to get rid of and you're within 6 feet of each other. I don't think we should be encouraging that. So I think putting it off until restrictions have eased a little bit and we've had a little bit better luck with getting ahead of this well. Would be more appropriate.
Okay. Councilor Schoenfeld.
And I concur, the only thing is just good communication so that we know we're gonna have it, and it could be as simply as we're delaying this due to COVID. Once the restrictions will be lifted, please look at our website and Facebook to see when the days will be. And then once we have the days, we can post them at our different landfill sites, right, and a big poster board saying, big dump is, because it's gonna eventually we'll be able to do that, but I just think it's important to, so they realize the taxpayers are still gonna do it. So they don't run into throwing stuff in the ditches like now. Probably will happen, right?
I just had a question on leaving yard waste. Is there any reason we can't be accepting that now at Bird Road transfer site?
Could I have that question a little bit louder, please?
Is there any reason we can't have leaf and yard waste collected at Bird Road site right now? And it doesn't have to go to the Auto Valley Waste Recovery Center?
Well, from the township's perspective, it's a labor intensive thing to move it. And it involves some physical activity. So that would be something that we should delay for now. If council wishes to store, then there's a liability to storing leaf and yard waste, and we only have so much capacity.
No, but I don't think they removed the branches and the tree limbs, but they never did remove the, excuse me, the leaf and yard waste. They just pushed over the bank and the compost there, just left as a shed. I don't think they.
I understand what the council's saying, but we've also got a fire ban in Ontario, and we don't want to be building something that could create a hazard.
Councilor Schoenfeld.
Has that been communicated on Facebook and our township website so the residents know they can't take it there anymore? I'm just thinking it's people who are used to taking it there now. They can't. And it's a good reason.
This hasn't been an issue up until now, is that we've had some requests. So this is something that we're going to communicate now.
Okay, thank you.
That's one thing we're going to find in our ditches, because people from deepness aren't going to be driving to the Auto Valley Waste Recovery Center.
They can't burn.
So, seeing no more other comments, then can I get a mover and a seconder that council directs staff to delay the large item event until restrictions are lifted? Moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Schoenfeld. Councilor Byrne?
Yes.
Or, sorry, Councilor Buckroll first.
Yes.
Councilor Burns?
Yes.
Councilor Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
And yes for myself. That's carried. That brings us to 7.2, which is the service delivery report, which is now up on the board. If everybody takes some time to read that.
Is that the one we got sent today?
No.
This is in regards to communication.
Where am I? Right here.
That's in there. Right above the HP. That no Zoom camera.
I don't see a Zoom camera. This?
What is it?
Any questions or comments on the report, Councillor Buckwald and then Councillor April21?
Just 2 comments. We do have access to a public information line where we can post information and people can call in to get that information. We used it during the last 2 events of flooding that we had, where people could call in and get daily updates. We still have that available through the CEMC. It would just be a matter of advertising the number and posting weekly updated or daily updated messages on it. The other option that we could look at is what's called telephone blasting. And it's basically, you would need a list of your ratepayers' phone numbers for them to opt in. And then the system will actually make calls for you with recorded messages. So just like those annoying ones that you get at home and with the recording, I would like you to buy this, so please call us if you want it. We can actually do that same type of thing. There is a cost to it, but again, it depends on how much you're going to use it. The hardest part is getting that database of phone numbers for people that want to receive those messages. But it works with landline phones, it works with cell phones. You can also set the same thing up for text messages. Again, it's all cloud-based, so it doesn't require any additional hardware here. It's just a matter of paying per use fees per message. So that might be something to look at. Something that would get to people that don't have computers and can get them something on a timely basis. But again, there's a lot of legwork to set it up.
Councillor April21.
So, I don't know if I call it the freebie paper, it's the Pembroke paper, and Whitewater, and they put the same ad in the Eganville Leader, right? And I kind of liked it because as a ratepayer, I'd be thinking, like, look at the stuff they're doing. They talk about flood monitoring and prevention, what they're doing for COVID-19, the potholes and road grading, and then just some general stuff about taxes, and they would talk about dog tags and other stuff. So I realized there was a cost associated with this. But I also realized we might be saving in some other areas this year. So something like this, I think, is good PR for the township. And also, the freebie paper does reach a lot of people. Not everybody gets the Eganville Leader, but a lot of people on my end, and probably past Eganville, would get this paper. You know, and I know there's a cost associated with it, but you know, our color and our logo, and just some general information what we're doing, this would be good to put in. We are deferring or we're delaying the large bulk take, you know, and we're gonna wait till this. I hope everybody stays safe, you know, and you could like just have a little like, kind of like a word of wisdom or like encouragement to our ratepayers. And I really think this could be a good form of communication at this time.
Councillor Buckwald.
I actually think that would be great to have that on a regular basis. Now, whether it's every issue or whether it's once a week or whether it's once a month, but to have that so that the people would be used to looking there and see. And again, it's not going to work for the stuff that you want to get out today, but if you want to get messaging out on a regular basis that they don't look at. So again, even looking at the potential for flooding in the spring, you can put that message out there in February, you know, potential flood season is coming. Or you can put announcements in there regarding.
And what I liked about it, it was pleasant to look at. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, and it made me feel good when I'm reading it. If I was a resident there, it'd be like, look at what our township is doing for the residents. And like Councilor Buckwald said, it would be a good, and then they look for that, you know, and it could be something about bulk season is starting, or the large dump day. Like, I'm always confused when our bulk days are and which ones where and stuff like that. But I know there's a cost associated with that. But I do think it could be a good, effective communication tool until we get our electronic signs up and some other things. And I was thinking about that phone, like you said, because at school we have that. So if there was an emergency, if the schools were shut, everybody would get it. But the unfortunate thing is, if there's a cost with that, not necessarily everybody will get it. And trying to get all the numbers and emails and stuff could be. But moving forward, if you really want to move forward, any new person that came into our township, and that's what we did with parents that were coming to our school. Do you want to receive an email about our newsletter? Yes, well, this is what we need. Do you want this? And so, you know, you don't look at the people that we might not be able to reach, but you look at the new ones coming, and perhaps some of the other residents would go and opt for that. But I mean, it might be an ongoing battle and definitely a work in progress, but the more communication techniques, the better.
Councillor Robinson and then Councillor Byrne.
Is there such a thing as a 611 number that we could opt into?
Ontario 211.
Yeah, okay. I'm just thinking that if it's something that we also, if we have that, and publicize that, then people, it's basically, it's giving people something that they know on a regular basis that they can go to.
Ontario 211 will actually come in presentations about what they can provide.
Mhm. Because I'm thinking that that would be, that it's a standard format that's out there. And if we can just opt into something like that, then it's, because it's already working in other communities, and we will be able to do that as an option, so.
Councilor Burke?
I have to agree with Councilor Reckley-Schoenfeld, that paper in the Pembroke paper, and every resident in our township, unless they're cottage, would receive that paper at no charge. Plus, it's a weekly paper, so like if you have someone coming next week, if you're in there for just Thursday, they read over the weekend. And Whitewater does that in the Renfrew paper, and so does Horton have a piece like that in the Renfrew paper. So to me, it's a really good, and it can't be that expensive.
I mean, it's probably a couple $100 a week, I would say. But on the big picture, if they knew we were going to do it over a certain amount of weeks, they may cut us a deal too, because that's where the papers make their money, is through advertisement, right? And it's not something that could be ongoing, and maybe once this situation is over, we would go to once a month or something like that. But it's just, how do we reach all our residents? And that's just an important.
I'm pretty sure Whitewater does it weekly.
And they might, and they very well might, but I'm just saying, if we're looking at cost effectiveness and stuff like that. But I really thought it was a great way to see what's going on in the township and what they're doing, and they haven't forgot about the potholes and road grading. Right?
So maybe I'd just like to ask staff a question. Are we getting a lot of calls from our residents on wanting more information or clarification on information, or do you think our residents are comfortable with the messages that are getting out there?
From our office, we get a fair amount of calls, but we're not getting any extra calls. But we're not getting, extreme volume. We can go 2 hours sometimes without the phone ringing. But what I'm hearing council talk about tonight is very good conversation. Councillor Reckley-Schoenfeld talked about a quarter-page ad like Whitewater has, and Councillor Buckwell talked about the phone systems. I think what council is talking about is possibly directing staff to come back with a communication strategy for the township overall, because right now, it's sort of a reactive thing. We're in the middle of a crisis, and we're doing all we can to get information out. But council's looking at the bigger picture right now, and I think that's a good thing to direct staff to come back at some point with a communication strategy for the township.
Well, that communication went well.
I'm not sure why Rankin just got a reader test, but they did. Okay.
So what I'm hearing from council is that would you like staff to come back with a report on a communication strategy that would look at using the Pembroke weekly paper?
Sure, how much it would cost, and maybe
That
Maria's
cost.
211 and stuff like that, and presentation at some point in time.
Yeah.
The more we have people in the loop, the better, and one communication strategy does not fit all, so.
And it's a free paper, and a lot of the old people do read it. And actually, Bolshevik Valley sends out a newsletter. I think it's only once a month, because I find them in my red boxes when I'm delivering the paper. But that's delivered through the mail, which would probably cost a lot more money than just going away January.
And I do know in that paper too, in certain areas, you can put your own insert in for cross reports, and they were delivered along with that paper. But I'm just saying it's a multi-pronged approach, but I know like Pembroke now, they don't really have a paper, that's why so many people like reading the bits and dribbles and drabs in them.
I think that the strategy that we're looking, from what I'm hearing, the strategy we're looking at is different ways to keep our residents informed, because you cannot just rely on one single format. as we said, not everybody, especially the seniors, they're not running to Facebook and they're not running to email. So for them to have something that they can touch and feel is one way. The audio is another way. And so I think that we need to have, what we're looking for is a multi-pronged approach in communication that is effective and simple for our residents.
So I guess what I would suggest is I will read this resolution to accept the service delivery report, and then I will draw up another resolution that staff look at a communication strategy and come back with a report and cost.
Yes.
So to deal with the report that was presented, I will need a mover and a seconder that council accepts the service delivery report as presented, moved by Councillor Buckwell, seconded by Councillor Robinson. Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Byrne,
Yes.
Councillor Schoenfeld,
Yes,
Councillor Robinson,
Yes.
and myself, yes, that's carried. I think I have some blank ones here. So I have a resolution that council directs staff to prepare a report on a communication strategy along with the associated costs. Moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Byrne.
Just the cost, could we get to look at once every week or once every 2 weeks? Or do we need that in? No, I would be okay with this. Take a look at it.
Yeah, if you have a cost per week, you can figure it out.
But it might be cheaper to do it every second week.
or if we did it multiple, it might be cheaper.
Yeah,
They'll figure it.
yeah, right. Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Byrne,
Yes.
Councillor Schoenfeld,
Yes,
Councillor Robinson,
Yes.
yes, for myself, that's carried, thank you. That brings us to 7.3, which is the report on the strategic plan. The report is on the screen, and maybe I will get staff to speak to it as well at the same time.
Sure. Just one note for council in regards to communication strategy. One of the components of this, of our strategic plan, and one of the first things that the consultant would be doing would be developing a stakeholder communication plan. So possibly, if that's happening fairly soon, we could piggyback on that for that report coming back to council, just as a note. So we had put out a RFP for a strategic plan as council directed. We actually had an addendum to extend the closing date because of the COVID-19. And we were going to extend it again because it was being very quiet, but we did receive 4 proposals on the cutoff date. So We usually hope to get at least 3, so we got 4 proposals from reputable firms. So I took the liberty of asking the progress chair and the mayor to come in and help me just go over the reports or the submissions. I basically had the mayor and the chair of the progress committee go over them, and then I went over everything again. And in scoring, we looked at a few things, but you know, the first thing you look at is cost. So the pre-cost RFP without the GS or HST is on there. One of the things that council wanted, and we put in the RFP, is to do a review annually. So the review cost came in at quite different. There were, the first one was $1,595 and a fixed annual 5-year thing. So every year, if you wanted it, you'd pay the $1,595. The other ones just gave us an option for one-year review, and they were all higher than $4,500. One was actually gave us a range between $6,000 to $10,000. So we were impressed with the one that was the $1,595. We scored everything on a set criteria that we had in the RFP. And what I did is I averaged the scores out, and the TGT solutions came in a little higher than MDB, and Stretch Carop was the lowest, but they scored rather low. Strategic Consulting Group, they scored rather low too. We found, and certainly looking at things, that TGT and MDB were very much in tune with the smaller municipality and municipal work in general, and strat plans. So based on all factors, TGT was certainly the highest. And if you factored in the cost of the review, they're only $1,800 higher than the actual lowest one, which scored low. So staff is recommending that we go with TGT, and we look at that option. I don't think we have to approve that tonight, to go with that $1,595 for the review. So the award would be $35,000 plus HST. They fit council's schedule, which is the 1st of September, basically. And we originally had planned to award this on before April 9th, and they would be finished before September. Given the COVID-19, there may be some delay in that, but the company in their submission doesn't think there would be a great delay. What they do suggest is there may be some different communication strategies to get all the engagement that they have to get, or there may be a delay, but that would be something that we would expect with every business in this environment we're in now. So I'll leave it up to council to discuss this.
Councilor Michelle.
Mr. Sprung, I kind of missed, like, when would they start and when do they think it would be completed by, if everything goes well and did they give you timelines?
So I have all that in detail, and council has that available to them. So basically they're going to start immediately.
Okay.
And their strategy is to be finished in the September date, but we have to understand that that may not be possible given restrictions that the province has put into us, but they believe they can work around some of those.
Okay.
If it comes to the point where the engagement's different, their start date is April 27th, and their finish date would be the final plan submitted August 9th, and then they would review it again with us in September. So, and then September of next year too. So they are, they've got a fairly clear schedule of when they're going to start and when they're going to finish. They've fit all the phases that we've given them. They're going to hit all the strategies that we've asked. And again, this is a phased in approach that council has interaction throughout the process with them.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Burt?
TGT is gonna give us a review every year for 5 years at that cost. That's the way I read that, right?
No, so TGT had given us costing for $15.95 a year if we want to have them review it. So we could have them review it 1 year, we could have them review it every 3rd year. The cost is a fixed cost. So what was stated there in the fixed cost is it's not $15.95 this year and $2,500 next year and $35 the next year. They've said it's going to be $15.95 every year that we get a review.
Okay.
We so choose.
Right, yeah.
If we so choose.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing to do, actually, keep it up to date.
Any other questions? So I have a resolution that council awards the strategic plan RFP 2020-admin02 to TGT Solutions Inc. for $35,000 plus HST. And I've got a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Buckwald, seconded by Councillor Robinson. Councillor Buckwald?
Yes.
Councillor Byrne?
Yes.
Councillor Rankin-Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Councillor Robinson?
Yes.
Myself, yes. That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to 7.4 is the tax report. And once again, I will ask council, I will ask staff to speak to that while it's up on the board.
So it's a pretty basic report that I had the treasurer do. So basically the little chart there shows you where we were March 31st in 2019 and March 31st, 2020. So basically we've taken in $27,000 more dollars and our outstanding balance is only 3.3% higher than last year, basically, if you look at that 4.4%. So really for council, other than being like 3.5% lower, you've got a very good cash flow. There's no impact right now on this first installment. Things are looking pretty good for us. And just for information, we have tax bills coming or invoices coming in paid every day. There's some come in the mail and some come in our Dropbox. So people are continuing to pay their taxes.
Councillor Rankin-Schoenfeld.
This has nothing to do about what's in the report. It just has to do with spelling. And it's like, I feel like I'm a broken record, but if we want to look like a great organization, which we were, I think it's really important that we spell things properly. Because it's not just us reading it, it's like other municipalities reading it along with other residents. So can we fix installment? I mean, they got it right in the second one, but then
It's in the first one.
in the first one, the second one, and the first one is spelled wrong. You know, I just think it's really important. Oh yeah, and you're right, in the paragraphs and stuff. I mean, I guess as council, maybe we have to decide if this is important or not, because then it's no use me and everybody else looking at that stuff, or do we just let it slide? I'm really, you know, we have 2 more years left. If we want to go like that, I'm perfectly fine with that. If not, then I think it's important that we do a good job. But the report is great.
My suggestion would be that we deal with this, and if we want to bring back a report on addressing the spelling and so on, then that would come back to council at a future meeting.
Okay.
So, sorry, Councillor Barton.
But this could change for the taxes that are due in a big way when the taxes are due at the end of May. Like I know where we are now, but when the tax comes due at the end of May, this could really change things for us. Because it's another 25% of the taxes we're collecting.
Councillor Rachel.
A number of the ratepayers that I've talked to, they intend on paying theirs on time, you know, all things being equal. You know, like, so, I mean, I think we could be in a worse position, but I mean, it's very heartening that so many people have paid and they're doing a great job of paying. But you're right, because I mean, as time goes on, less people will have less money. It all determines when they're gonna list the restrictions, right? And when people.
Well, a lot of people never lost their job like until the 20th of March, but now there's a lot of people lost their jobs, so they might not have that cash flow. Even with the government's money, like that doesn't come just overnight.
Oh, it's coming very quickly.
Is it?
Oh, yes.
But it's only good for 14 weeks, right, or something?
Well, I think right now it's going up to May, mid-May, early May. And then.
We'll wait to see what happens.
Exactly. But at the same time, if they were laid off, and for example, if you've worked for the last 3 years or two, past 52 weeks, when that is finished, EI kicks in.
Unfortunately, there's some people that, you know, didn't work their amount of hours, and, you know, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
So I have a resolution that council receives the taxes receivable report as information only. And I moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Buckwald. Councillor Buckwald?
Yes.
Councillor Byrne?
Yes.
Councillor Reggie Schoenfeld?
Yes?
Councillor Robinson?
Yes.
And myself, yes. That's carried, thank you. Departmental updates, we have none. Correspondence, we have none. That brings us to bylaws. Well, bylaws we would do at the end. So number 11 is matters of emergency. And this was brought forward by Councillor Burns. I have a resolution that council amend the 2020 budget that was passed by council on February 25th, 2020, and withdraw the contributions to reserves for 2020. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Reiki Schoenfeld, seconded by Councillor Byrne. Comments, questions? Councillor Byrne?
I think this is something we have to do for our residents. A lot of people are not working. A lot of businesses are closed down and other businesses are open, but I think their income has to be way down. I just like to see the 4% that we were going to put into reserves, not do that this year, because I don't see how we would take money from residents and put it in reserves at this time. That's just my feeling.
Councillor Buckle.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask Councillor Byrne if he would support reinstating that next year as well as an additional amount for next year? Will you make that commitment at this time?
No. Next year's a whole different game. So you want 8% next year then?
I want the 4% that this council agreed to this year.
Councillor Reiki Schoenfeld.
I do agree with Councillor Byrne. I mean, times change from when we said we were going to do that to what's going on now. And it doesn't mean next year we can't make adjustments, and I'm sure we will. And maybe there's different ways we can save money within our township. You know, maybe we look at the different equipment we were committed to buying. Do we go ahead and we buy those, or do we make them last another year? I just think there's so many unknowns, and the situation is so fluid, and we don't know. I mean, potentially, maybe the government will increase the COVID date for a longer period of time, or maybe they won't. We don't know when this stuff is going to open up again. And I do think it kind of financially hand ties some of our residents, and so I agree that we should not allow it for this year.
Councillor Robinson.
I personally think it's premature to start making those kind of judgments. We're not sure where all of this is heading. We can make we can make adjustments later in the year when we really know what is going on. To try and jump the gun now and say, let's start opening our budget, let's start doing this, let's start doing that. We don't know what is going to happen. We don't know what the province is going to be doing for us. You know, if we start right now, say, for example, opening our budget, and the government says, oh, well, we're going to make some deals for our municipalities, and well, you've made an adjustment, so you're not going to get it. So I think that right now, let's wait, see exactly what is going to be happening with the province, with the situation in itself, before we start, you know, jumping the gun. And that's my thought.
If I could direct a question to staff, have we had any increase in numbers or significant requests for tax relief coming into the office for individuals that have identified they're having difficulties paying?
We have not received really any formal requests. We've heard, and I don't know, you know, sometimes comments are in jest on Facebook and say, you know, when are you going to lower my taxes? And some of the complaints that we've had on a few things, they said, what are you going to do about my taxes? But we're not getting calls saying, let's lower our taxes. There's no request for reports coming forward to council at this time that we have. So I don't think you're getting very many, if any, that you don't have a formal one that's coming before council.
Thank you.
Councilor Reddish.
The 4% we had talked about was going into reserve, so it was, the other monies are still available to operate the township the way we wanted to. We just don't have that 4% going in reserves. So if we wanted to buy something that was already allotted, that can still happen. And we don't know what's going to happen. So that's why I would like the 4% decrease that we said we were going to put into reserves. So we were putting that money into the bank for a specific project. It wasn't necessarily we're putting 4% on to buy a new plow truck or something like that.
I guess I would just like to remind council, the 4% was going into reserves for roads. And we do know from the tender that we just received that our costs for the road work we wanted to do this year was $600,000 higher than what we had budgeted for. If we remove that money this year, our costs for road work isn't going to go down next year. And as Councilor Buchwald said, where is that money going to come from going forward? I also agree with Councilor Robinson, it's too early into this whole process or into this whole COVID-19 issue to make decisions now when maybe a year from now it's going to look a lot worse. I don't know. I don't know what any of this. Councilor Buchwald.
I think that one of the comment that I'd like to make is the whole COVID situation, there has been a lot of uncertainty, there's been a lot of emotion, there has been a lot of fear, and I understand that. As somebody who's going into that environment every day to work, I understand the fear, I understand the concerns. My concern is that if we begin making decisions at this table based on emotion and fear, and I understand the emotion that we would all like to be able to help people and give them some relief. But I believe it's our responsibility to make fact-based, informed decisions at this table. And we just don't have information at this point that justifies reopening our budget for, on average, $48 for a home over the course of a year. I just don't see, honestly, at this point, an urgency to do so. And again, we do have projects that have come in over budget. That money, that 4% because of this growth could be applied to that. Right? We have some hard decisions to make in the running of this municipality. And I think we need to make those decisions to keep the municipality running, including that forward focus of putting the money where it needs to be now so that it's not putting more ahead before. Nothing has changed from our operational outlook. Nothing has changed from the shortfalls that we have. You know, the roads still need to be repaired, the roads still need to be built, things still need to be done. And yes, it's an uncertain time, but I don't believe at this point we've hit a threshold where opening up the budget is the right thing to do.
So I have a resolution that council amend the 2020 budget that was passed by council on February 25th, 2020, and withdraw the contributions to reserves for 2020. Councillor Buckle.
No.
Councillor Byrne.
Yes.
Councillor Reiche-Schoenfeld.
Yes,
Councillor Robinson.
No.
And I will say no as well. So that motion is defeated. So that brings us down to item number 15, which is our closed session. So I have a resolution that council going to close the meeting pursuant to section 239 2B of the Municipal Act for 3 personal matters about an identifiable individual at 8:09 p.m. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Barkwell, seconded by Councillor Reiche-Schoenfeld. Councillor Barkwell.
Yes.
Councillor Byrne.
Yes.
Councillor Reiche-Schoenfeld.
yes.
Councillor Robinson.
Yes.
Myself, yes. That motion is carried. I'll turn off the recorder. We are now in closed.
Just a moment, Mayor, let me shut down the streaming.